mediocre and mediocrity has been the phrase for the day. I understand that for many years for the Atlanta Hawks, but they weren't going to do much different with that other squad. They weren't going to do shit different. Period. So I like the moves, man. You weren't going to get any further with Al Horford and Jeff Teague and DeMarre Carroll and Kyle Korver. I'm sorry. You just weren't. For Montana Jones, if Joe or Kawhi are your team leaders, your team will never win a chip. Ooh. I 100% agree about Joe Johnson. Kawhi Leonard, he seems a little bit different than Joe, as we talked about earlier. He seems a little bit different than Joe, and he is, slightly more vocal than Joe. He's kind of like a quiet guy off the court, but on the court, he's a little bit more vocal than I remember Joe Johnson being, especially when he was here in Atlanta. But I definitely feel what you're saying, man. You need vocal leaders. Like, name me an NBA franchise, and I just thought about this at the second when I read that message, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. Name me a team that won championships without a quote-unquote vocal leader. All of the years of the Lakers in the championships, when Magic was there, Magic was the vocal leader. When you had the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq and Kobe were vocal leaders. Even the Isaiah Thomas-led Detroit Pistons back in the day, Isaiah was the clear vocal leader. I'm trying to think. Maybe the Pistons' run of championships the second time around with Ben Wallace and Rip Hamilton. Chauncey Billups was kind of like the vocal leader of that team. You can't name me a lot of teams that won a championship that didn't have that alpha male, that didn't have a vocal leader. And you were never going to win shit with Joe Johnson being your team leader. Period. Because you kind of need like that coach on the floor. You kind of need a guy that's going to take charge, and when things are going wrong, he slaps them back into place. Man, I don't think I heard Joe Johnson utter 2 complete sentences his entire time in Atlanta. I'm sorry. Yeah, from Fel Pay, Doug, so you're just going to ignore the fact that the new Kendrick came out? I'm sorry, I haven't heard it yet. What? Yeah, I'm sorry, I haven't heard the new Kendrick Lamar. From what I understand, it's very good. I will hear it this week. I like that kid. But I have not heard it. But it's been all in the news and whatnot, but I have not heard it yet. From Loose Neck Side, Mavericks won with Jason Terry, and Jason Kidd was the vocal leaders. Dirk was the glue and the scorer. Mavericks won with Jason Terry, and Jason Kidd was the vocal leaders. Right. True. Exactly. Good point. Who else? From LD, shaking my head. Nope. On the court, he's quiet too. He's afraid. If he speaks, someone will realize that he's still have them damn cornrows in his that was a topic of discussion this weekend as well. Like, does Kawhi Leonard not understand that this isn't 2000? Like, I think he might be the only person in the NBA wearing the cornrows. Remember now, Allen Iverson had all them ninjas in cornrows back in the day. LD says, shaking my head, nope. On the court, he's quiet too. He's afraid if he speaks, someone will realize that he still has them damn cornrows and take the Clippers to him. Hey, man, he looks like he keeps them up, though. I wish I could grow some damn cornrows. From that boy Chucky, somebody threw the words Hall of Famer out for Joe Johnson. This might be blasphemy what I'm about to say right now, but Joe Johnson is the Tony Romo of the NBA. Nah, it's not even blasphemous. It's a perfect comparison. Joe Johnson is the Tony Romo of the NBA. A ton of stats. Joe's probably going to go down stat-wise as one maybe a top 50 player of all time. Joe Johnson ain't no Hall of Famer. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is a perfect example. Oh, well, you just hate on Tony Romo. No. You can say, I guess now, I'm hating on Joe Johnson. Joe Johnson will never smell the Hall of Fame. What? No. His numbers probably say that he's somewhere in the vicinity of being a Hall of Famer. Right. This is a perfect example. No. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. From Clay Pagan, Easton Davis, Doug's hatred of ski mask Joe Johnson and Dwight Howard are hilarious. No. I just feel like, man, that you have to play the game or play sports in general with a passion. And Joe Johnson and Dwight Howard, man, definitely not in that conversation. But back to Joe Johnson being a Hall of Famer. Perfect example. Use your eyes, okay? Use your eyes. You know, what have they done accomplishment-wise as well in that conversation too? Joe Johnson, I'm sure his numbers are probably very comparable to a lot of guys that made – and you know what? He may even get in the Hall of Fame. You know, I'm always more critical of the NBA Hall of Fame in particular than a lot of other Hall of Famers. Tracy McGrady just got inducted into the Hall of Fame or got elected to the Basketball Hall of Fame. I like Tracy Game. You know, fantastic player for a long time in the NBA. I don't know. He's one that I put kind of like, you know, an asterisk by. Tracy McGrady, Hall of Famer. I really don't want to say no, but I really don't want to say yeah either. So, you know, if I got reservations about Tracy McGrady, no way in the hell in my book Joe Johnson gets to the Hall of Fame. Ski Mask Joe. That is what we used to call Joe Jackson. Joe Johnson. From that boy Chucky, Mark Jackson said it. From Thalpay, threw the words Hall of Famer out, meaning he does not qualify. Wait a minute. Mark Jackson said Joe Johnson is a Hall of Famer? Oh. You know what, though? To be honest with you, if Mark Jackson says it, it gives it a lot more credibility. Because remember, Mark Jackson was the one that said that Klay Thompson and Steph Curry are the best shooting backcourt of all time, and we laughed at them. And that's probably the case a couple of years later. Mark Jackson said Joe Johnson is a Hall of Famer? Mark Jackson's expectation for a Hall of Famer are way lower than mine. Wow. And listen now, it's a different standard in my Hall of Fame, and I've talked about this many times before. It's a different standard in my Hall of Fame than evidently basketball's Hall of Fame, because basketball Hall of Fame, they'll put in Tracy McGrady and they'll put in Dennis Rodman and they'll put in, you know, guys like that. Like I'm sure Chauncey Billups is going to get to the NBA Hall of Fame or to the Basketball Hall of Fame. Like my Hall of Fame would only consist of legends. It's not the Hall. If you're new to the Doug Stewart Show, this is a constant theme for me for the last 20 years or 15, 16 years. It's not. And really my whole life before I even started doing radio. So, yeah, not just the last 20 years, the last 47 years. It's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Very Good. The NBA, more so than the other sports, puts in very, very good players. I would only put in Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas, Larry Birds, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, Hakeem Olajuwon, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Those are the only cats that would get in the Hall. Like, there would be a Hall of Fame inductee in my Hall of Fame, like, probably once every 3 years. Yeah, maybe like once every 3 years we get one guy in, maybe two guy in. You remember, you got to wait 5 years before you can go in. So guys retiring and spending their 5 years out, waiting their 5 years, like my Hall of Fame would be very few and far in between. Like every other year, we put in Kobe Bryant. And then maybe 2 years later, we put in Shaquille O'Neal. And then 3 years, 4 years later after that fact, we put in Allen Iverson or somebody like that. But I'm not putting in no damn Joe Johnson types. No Dennis Rodman, even though Rodman was a great defensive player. I don't want to get in that argument. But no, very, very limited. You got to be a Hall of Famer, one of the greats to ever do it, a legendary player. RC said, this is a very good post right here. RC says, Mark Jackson is more of a Hall of Fame worthy than Joe Johnson. I agree 100%. Yes. I agree 100%. Not saying that I think he should get in, but yeah, if you're putting both of these guys on a scale, Mark Jackson and Joe Johnson, Mark Jackson clearly had the better career. Mark Jackson clearly a more legendary type player. Mark Jackson could ball his ass off. I mean, just a consummate point guard. A lot of stats, a lot of great things to the game. Great career in college as well at St. John's. Yeah, give me Mark Jackson before Joe Johnson as far as a Hall of Famer. 100% agree. From Angry Black Man, the Basketball Hall of Fame takes a player's whole career. It's not based solely on their NBA accomplishments, so your exploits in high school, college, and international are weighed in your candidacy as well. That's true. It's not the NBA Hall of Fame. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. So that's why you get cats like Vlade Divac make it to the Hall of Fame because of what they did internationally as well. I understand that. But still, I think they're way too lenient with guys that put up a lot of stats, in relative terms to accomplishments and legendary status. And that's pretty much it for me. Legendary status. If you don't say the person's name and just automatically think legend, then I wouldn't put him in my Hall of Fame. And that's just me personally. Y'all may disagree, but if you say the name out loud and the first thing that doesn't come to your mind is legend, then they're not a Hall of Famer. And that's with all of the Hall of Fames, man. Football and baseball as well. Baseball is more so about stats and the numbers, so I kind of get that. But basketball and football, man, I always throw out Curtis Martin. Curtis Martin in football is a Hall of Famer. When you say Curtis Martin, do you think legend? Hell no. Hell no. When you say Joe Johnson, what do you think of? You don't think legend. You don't think Hall of Famer. You think very, very solid player. Journeyman, quiet, not really a leader, but you don't just, instantly say, oh, Hall of Fame player. Is something wrong with putting Joe Johnson in the same Hall of Fame with Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas, Allen Iverson, Hakeem Olajuwon? No. Nah. Like Sesame Street, one of these things don't belong here. They're not like the others. Let's see. Olajuwon, Larry Bird, Allen Iverson, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Joe Johnson. .334 Bama Boy Clay. So why is there so much Joe Johnson hate then? I'm not a Hawks fan, so I don't know. Right, you can't understand if you don't live in Atlanta and watch Joe Johnson for many years. Basically rob the Hawks organization. And in relative terms, he didn't rob anybody, literally. Figuratively. Joe Johnson robbed the Atlanta organization and Atlanta sports fans for many, many years. Back in 3 minutes. Entertainment, The Doug Stewart Show.